All right, let's jump right in. If you're a teen driver gearing up for your exam, or really just a focused learner who wants to absolutely master the rules of the road, you are exactly in the right place. Today, we're taking Section 3A of the Driver's Manual and transforming it into your ultimate survival guide for this explainer. We're going to decode the invisible language of the road, traffic signals. And hey, this isn't just about checking a box to pass a test. It's about giving you the tools and the structured understanding to navigate any chaotic intersection with total, unshakable confidence. So let's get you ready.
Put yourself in the driver's seat for just a second. You're behind the wheel, hands perfectly placed at 9 and 3, and sitting right next to you is the driving examiner, clipboard in hand, silently judging literally every move you make. You're approaching a massive, multi-lane intersection. Lights are flashing, pedestrians are waiting to cross, and you have to make a split-second decision. Feeling that pressure? Well, you won't be after today. We're going to turn that anxiety into absolute mastery.
So here's our roadmap. First, the basic signal colors. Second, navigating arrow signals. Third, the rules of red turns. Fourth, lane use signals. And finally, the pedestrian hybrid beacon.
Okay, Section 1, the basic signal colors.
Now this might seem like basic review, but the tiny details here are exactly where examiners love to deduct points. We all know the standard automated sequence, right? Green, yellow, red, and back to green. Red means stop completely before the crosswalk. Green means go if the intersection is clear. But let's talk about the yellow light. A steady yellow is a warning that the light is about to change, and if you haven't entered the intersection, you absolutely must come to a safe stop. And here is the classic examiner trap, pulled straight from the source material. Speeding up to beat the light is unlawful. It is not a suggestion, folks, it's the law. If your examiner feels you hit the gas instead of the brake on a yellow, yeah, that clipboard is getting a big red mark.
So, you've got the colors down, but let me throw a major curveball scenario at you, one that is highly testable. You're driving along, a huge storm rolls in, and suddenly, boom, the traffic lights ahead go completely black. What exactly happens when the power goes out?
The answer is the dark signal rule. When a traffic light is unlit due to a power failure or really any other cause, and there's no police officer directing traffic, that intersection automatically becomes an always stop. The absolutely crucial point here is that an uncovered dark signal is legally the exact same thing as a stop sign. You cannot just coast through assuming you have the right of way. You literally have to stop.
Now let's talk about flashing lights. A flashing yellow? That just means be alert and proceed with caution. Usually it's drawing your attention to a tricky spot. But a flashing red, that requires a full, complete stop. You've got to yield to oncoming traffic and pedestrians before you move an inch. And this brings up a super critical safety point. A flashing red light at a railroad crossing requires a complete stop even if you don't see a train. Never ever trust your eyes over a flashing red railroad signal. I promise you, the examiner won't.
All right, let's move to Section 2, navigating arrow signals.
Directional arrows add a whole specific layer of instruction for turning lanes. A red arrow is absolute. It means come to a complete stop and just stay there. Turning on a red arrow is strictly prohibited, no exceptions. A green arrow, of course, means you're good to proceed in that direction. But again, keep an eye on that steady yellow arrow. Just like the solid yellow light, it means the signal is changing. If you haven't entered the intersection, stop safely. Speeding up to beat the arrow is again totally unlawful.
Let's contrast two specific warnings that trip a lot of people up. We just talked about how a general flashing yellow light means proceed with caution. But a flashing yellow arrow? That has a very specific instruction for a turning lane. It means you can cautiously enter the intersection to make your turn, but you must yield the right-of-way to pedestrians in the adjacent crosswalk and to other oncoming traffic. That arrow puts the burden of yielding entirely on your shoulders.
Moving right along to Section 3, the rules of red turns.
Executing these incorrectly is honestly one of the fastest ways to fail a driving exam. Turning right on a circular red light is generally allowed, unless, of course, there's a sign explicitly prohibiting it. But here is your mandatory mental checklist. Step 1 is the absolute most critical. Before turning, you must come to a complete stop. A rolling stop? That's a violation. After you're fully stopped, look both ways, yield to pedestrians and traffic, and only then do you execute the turn. Failing to come to that complete, dead stop first is a guaranteed penalty. Now, what about turning left on a red light? Usually, doing that is a massive violation. However, there's a highly specific exception that examiners just love to quiz you on.
Turning left at a circular red light is legally allowed only if you are traveling on a one-way street and you are turning onto another one-way street. Try to picture that scenario in your head. You're on a one-way street, turning left onto another one-way. And even then, you still have to come to a complete stop first and yield to everyone else.
Okay, let's transition to Section 4, Lane Use Signals Explained.
You're typically going to see these highly specialized overhead signals in larger cities to reverse a lane's direction during heavy rush hour traffic. The rules here are clear and entirely unforgiving. A downward green arrow means you're permitted to drive in that lane. A steady yellow X, that means you need to get out of that lane as soon as safely possible because a red X is coming. And the golden rule, never, ever drive in a lane under a red X signal. That literally means oncoming traffic could be heading straight for you. No way you want to mess with that.
And here we are at Section 5, the final boss level of this explainer, the pedestrian hybrid beacon.
If you encounter a pedestrian hybrid beacon on your exam, you need to know exactly how it operates. These are special devices used at mid-block crosswalks where there isn't a normal intersection. They don't even look like normal traffic lights. They have a really unique setup, two side-by-side red lights centered squarely over a single yellow light. Let's break down exactly how this sequence works to get people across the street safely.
When activated, it kicks off with a flashing yellow, warning you that it's about to turn solid. Next, it goes solid yellow, which means prepare to stop, just like any normal light. Then, both of those top lights turn solid red. During this phase, you must stop and stay stopped while pedestrians get their walk signal. But here's the tricky part, phase 4. After the walk cycle is done, those two red lights will start flashing back and forth. During this flashing red phase, drivers have to stop, verify that absolutely no pedestrians are in their lane or the next lane over, and only then can they proceed before the lights fully turn off.
And that brings us to an incredible little examiner trap, the dark beacon exception. Remember earlier when we said a dark, broken traffic signal must be treated as an always stop? Well, the source material explicitly states that the state statute requiring vehicles to stop at dark traffic signals does not apply to these mid-block hybrid beacons. When the pedestrian cycle is over, the beacon just goes dark. And when it's dark, normal traffic simply keeps driving. If you suddenly stop at a dark hybrid beacon, you're going to confuse everyone behind you, and it will definitely cost you points on your test.
Let's wrap this whole thing up with a quote straight from the manual. A thorough knowledge of traffic signs, signals, and road markings is a must for all drivers. What we've dug into today isn't just about memorizing colors to impress someone with a clipboard. These signals are the invisible, life-saving language of our roads. By mastering them, you aren't just ensuring you pass an exam. You're guaranteeing you know exactly how to keep yourself and everyone else safe. So next time you slide into the driver's seat, ask yourself, are you just driving or are you truly fluent in the language of the road? Best of luck on your exam.